Cube Zero.
Alright, everyone, it's time to end this trilogy, Cube Zero. It's not too often you get a third movie called Zero. This is a prequel to the first two films, and I said in my first review that I didn't know if this was going to be a prequel, because I was like, there's a Cube Zero, I wonder if that's like a prequel. I was right, this is a prequel. Although I did see this before, I was a kid at the time. I was probably like 10 years old when I saw this last. I always remember like a guy melting, so yeah, I was curious to go back to this one, because I knew it had to at least be better than part 2, and it was. Miles better than part 2. I know someone disliked my part 2 review because they were probably like, I actually like this movie. Dislike. Newsflash, dislike isn't used for if I don't agree with you or if we don't have the same opinion. Dislike is if I said Cube 2 review and then you clicked on it and it was me on the toilet taking a shit the whole time. Go ahead and dislike that video because I lied to you. That's what the dislike button's for. Not if I don't agree with you. Because if that was true, I would be disliking a lot of reviews, because I don't agree with everybody. So yeah, learn how to dislike a video, alright? Just because I don't line up perfectly with your thoughts doesn't mean it deserves a dislike. Bitch. Just want to throw that out there. So yeah, fuck Cube 2. Unashamed of saying it. Fuck Cube 2. I don't know anyone who likes it. But if you do, more good for you. I'm not saying that you have to love it, or you have to hate it. On any movie. You like what you like, and you hate what you hate. That's how it works. So, now let's talk about Cube Zero. Alright, so this is same story. Rooms, traps, random people thrown in, no connection, don't know why, and they die in weird ways. A couple of them, at least. These aren't high body count movies, and that's really the big disappointing thing about these. Like, they have potential to just go for it. Like, they didn't realize what was so great about these movies, obviously, because they don't give enough of it to you. The great thing about these movies is just the tension building of like not knowing which room is trapped and which one is not, and trying to figure out who the fuck's doing it and why. But they never give you that who and why. Even though this one tries a little, I appreciate that. But they don't really utilize that tension. They do in the first one, I'll admit that. In the first one, that's the most tension out of all three. This one doesn't have tension, really. I was never like on the edge of my seat, like, oh my gosh, is this room bugged? No. The first one, yes. But there's hardly any kills, and there's always like maybe 2. Like the second one, technically I would say there's 0 kills. I don't believe anybody fucking died. It was all like VR in their fucking heads. I don't know what was going on. But part 1, there's like 2 good on-screen kills that I remember, and in this one, same thing. There's like 2 really good on-screen kills. So, well, there's 3. So this one ups it a little bit, but again, like if they just threw like a dozen people into these cubes, that would be better. Up that body count, up the creativity of these kills and the traps, and you got yourself a pretty fun slasher gore fest. But instead, they just utilize their budget for something else, I guess, or they just don't give a shit, or they don't know why people are returning to see these movies. But obviously they learned their lesson from part 2, because the positives I can give this movie is that they return to form. They go back to the first one, they put them back in prison outfits, they got their names on there, they bring back the color of the rooms, you got the red rooms, the green rooms, the atmospheres, you know, the color, the cinematography, just the way the rooms look, they're creepy again, they're not just bland white and shiny, like someone just fucking took Windex to every room, just clean shine and everything's pretty. No, it's dumb. This one looks like the first one. They update the look a little bit, but it's still got the same concept, the same look of the first one, just more updated. And we do learn to explain why it looks different, because if this is a prequel to part 1, it should look 100% the same. No. This is a whole new cubes. Like, we learned that there's multiple cube designs out there, and there's multiple sections. So that's why Cube 2 looks different. In Cube 2, it's a piece of shit white setting. In this one, it looks different too, because it's a whole new location. And then they changed the numbers to letters now, the coordinates. They use a letter system. You got a couple of cool kills in this movie. Like I said, there's a couple in here. You got a similar slice and dice kill, except it's like wires going around the neck and the arms and all kinds of, just like 1,000 wires wrapped around the guy. And he has to sit there and like wait for it to like take his life. And they all just kind of tighten, and he just falls to pieces. So I like that. And the guy gets like this weird like water on him that turns out to be like some medical solution, some kind of chemical that like melts his skin slowly. It's not acid, because that would hurt on touch, but this was like water. And he's like, oh, it's water. And he starts like sucking it off his hand, and then like he realizes his skin's like dissolving and just falling apart. It was pretty gnarly. And I like the acting's still decent. Like the first movie, the acting was surprisingly decent. And same thing here. Not great performances, but it's serviceable. It doesn't like stand out. You're like, oh god, that guy's terrible. No, it's all right. So no bad acting in this movie. I like that the whole movie isn't in the cube. They changed that. There's two different parts of this movie. You got the cube and you got the outside with like the two workers. The one guy who I swear to God was the killer in Scream 3. I was like, that's that guy, isn't it? I looked him up. Nope, it's not him, but he looks like him. And then the other guy is that gas attendant and Tommy Boy who's like, the town you're looking for is 27 mile or 11 miles, something like that. And David Spade's giving him shit like, it's miles. Put the S at the end. He's just like, that guy. I forget how that conversation went, but Tommy Boy's a great movie. Love Tommy Boy. I like that we get to know a little bit more about this cube and why it's happening, although we don't really get the why. We just kind of know that they find people. They have these like soldiers that are brainwashed. They got like the green eyes, like Leprechaun in the Hood. And they got like this tattoo symbol that represents their army or whatever their little fucking security squad is. They got like their own logo, and they're mercenaries that like tranquilize dark people, and they throw them in there. And the workers there, they think that these people that they're watching die and surveying for what God knows why are basically convicts who were sentenced to death, and they decided that this would be better than death. Fuck that. Lethal injection is way better than getting sliced and diced and melted and God knows what else. So these people made wrong decisions if that's true, although it does turn out to be bullshit by the end. Oh, and that guy from Tommy Boy, he was in Wrong Turn. He was the state trooper who gets the arrow through the eye. Not necessary to point out, but I will. So, yeah, I like that the whole movie's not in the cube. This movie is 50% comedy, really. Like, the tone of this movie, it changes throughout, because the tone of the outside of the cube section is comedy, because the two characters they bounce off each other. They're playing chess, and the one guy's so good at chess that he doesn't even need to look at the board once. You just tell him where you put your piece, and he tells you where to put his piece, and he can beat you without looking at the board. Amazing. But yeah, just their conversations together, it's funny at some points, and there's a glass eye guy who comes in named Jax, who's like the supervisor, but he's not even like the highest level of seniority there. So we don't ever actually see the mastermind, but this guy, he's very hokey. So it's kind of funny. He comes in, he keeps like mispronouncing their names, like, hey Claude, hey Dodd, Maud, Sot. Like, he just changes his name every time he says it, which is kind of juvenile, amateurish comedy. It's not like, yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure how I feel about that. It's not the best comedy in the world, but I did laugh. But then the tone inside the cubes is very serious. So it's never like played for laughs when they're in the cube. And yeah, I think that's all the things I can say good about it. It's not a happy ending, it's a realistic ending. So it kind of ends with like the one guy getting captured, and he turns into... They basically make him mentally handicapped, and he's doing the same thing that Kazan was doing in part 1. He's like, I like the blue room. He's like doing that finger twitch thing. So it kind of ends how the first one kind of began, although it's not the same character. So don't get confused and think it is. Alright, so yeah, that's really it. Cons! Let's talk about my nitpicks. Alright. Well, there's still no answers. I want to know what the fuck's funding this shit, who's in charge, and why. Because it ain't convicts getting selected, it's random people, and we don't know why. So, I want to get some answers here, buddy. And then the process you go through, like, this must have been, like, a very exhausted day when it came to writing. Because there's like, well, what's the exit process for this thing? What if you make it, and you get to the end? What happens? Well, we ask you one question. Do you believe in God? And if you say no, we burn your ass alive. Well, what if they say yes? And we never get that answer. We don't know. Like, if that guy said yes, would they have let him walk out? I doubt it. Because that guy worked there. So I don't know why the fuck they're even still working there. Yeah. The jokes, kind of felt amateurish. They weren't really all that funny. And there's no character building in this movie. Like, these characters aren't here to, like, do anything other than die. Like, they're just, like, in these cubes. We hear their names once. And then they're just, like, it spends, like, over 75% of the time, like, with these two guys watching them. And this guy, like, being in love with her just off of sight. Than it does on these characters. And they don't talk about anything interesting. It's basically the same shit in part one. Like, who are you? What did you do to get in here? Why do you think we're here? I don't know. That's it. Like, the dialogue is not here to entertain you. It's just like, all right, I want to see people die. And unfortunately, like I said, you only get like 3 people that die. It's a small cast. They should have upped that body count, upped the kills, upped that creativity, show us people dying in horrific ways, because that's honestly the only thing this movie should have been made for. Because you get a premise like that, cube rooms that kill you in creative ways, why not go for it? They don't. They do not go for it. They get like 3 kills in this movie. So final thoughts overall, this one was pretty decent. I had a decent time watching it. It's not the best movie. I wouldn't say it's better than the first one. The first one had better tension. Just a couple of better kills. This one has 2 decent kills that stand out, but nothing to write home about or tell your friends about. It's not the greatest thing ever. I like that they expanded it a little bit more, but they don't give you enough. There's no reason for this movie to even exist. If you're not going to explain things away and actually tell us more, then don't waste my time. Like, in fact, this movie just raised more questions. That's all it did. It made me wonder more. It's like, well, who hired this guy? What happened to his eye? What? They feed him with pills. How the fuck do they put entire meals into these pills? Like, you want a steak dinner? Here's a bill. No, steak dinner. That's not fun. You don't get to cut into it. You don't get to put A1 sauce on it. It's just dumb. Whatever. But yeah, it's an okay movie. Like, if you like the first one, this is a good one to watch. But don't expect it to be better. But hey, some people might like it better. So when it comes to Cube Zero, just like the first one, maybe check this one out at Redbox. And those are my thoughts on Cube Zero. Is this your favorite of the trilogy? Do you wish there was more? Put your thoughts in the comments below. And as always, thank you so much for joining me tonight. If you like what you have seen here, you can hit this like button to show your support, and you can become a subscriber today if you haven't become one already by clicking on my cartoon face in 5 seconds. And until next time, auf Wiedersehen.